Okay, everyone, welcome back to the Sparkling Conservative. Today, we're going to talk about the weirdest interpretation of the Fifth Amendment I've ever seen. And if you look at the logical conclusion, it's saying that there should be no disqualifying factors from military service because, allergies right now, if a bee stings you, you could die, but the military would have to allow you if this were to go through and people challenged it to that extent. Not saying people will, but if the Supreme Court upholds this, it could open up that Pandora's box. And we're already the laughing stock of the military community, so why not open that box? Allergies, flat footedness, depression, anxiety. Let's let them all in. Don't care anymore. If you're not picking it up, I'm talking about Trump's, I know, horrible person, shouldn't even say his name, but we love America here, so I will, yay Trump. But this judge, who happens to be a member of the LGBTQIA plus square dollar sign whatever movement, has come out and said that transgender individuals should be allowed to be in the military, contradicting a 2019 Supreme Court ruling, and of course, going against Trump's orders. And you've got Pete Hegseth, who's saying that equality is what matters. It shouldn't be gender split. I'm okay with that. But they're just ignoring the complete holisticness of the medical issues that come with being trans. I'm not on any kind of hormones. I don't know what that life looks like. I'm not trans, obviously. But I can only imagine that if you don't have access to that medication and your hormones shift, that's not great. You have these surgeries to modify yourself, and you have to live with that. And again, I can't even imagine the ripples that come with that, but it can't be healthy. You hear the horror stories of living with this modification and what that brings. I can't even imagine being on a hike in the desert with that, let alone deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan or wherever our future wars might be. Until that kind of surgery gets better, which we'll hate saying that that's a path, but it is. Until that gets better, they should not be allowed to serve in any, at least combat role, but I think any role. You could be contractors. There's ways to serve your country without serving the military, and I think that that's the path they need to be. So, welcome back, everyone. Let's dive into this. I've got an ABC News interview with one of the plaintiffs in this case, and let's just see where this goes. So, welcome back to the Sparkling Conservative, everyone. Been a bit. We're going to be back more reliably, so make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and good or bad, I know this topic's going to anger a lot of people. Leave comments down below. No matter how angry you are, it actually helps the algorithm. So, call me a POS. Don't care. Let's dive into this and welcome everybody, and here we go. Awesome. So, let's dive into this ABC News clip and just see how crazy this actually is. Again, this is a month-old story. I really wanted to let it settle, but nothing new has come of it, and I will be posting updates as we get closer to it because the Supreme Court will be hearing this. And back in 2019, it's worth mentioning, the Supreme Court did support Trump's initial ban on transgender military. So let's jump into this and just see what we've got.
A federal judge blocking enforcement of President Trump's ban on transgender people serving in the military, saying it likely violated their constitutional rights. The judge delaying her order until Friday to give the Trump administration time to appeal this decision. But our next guest is Nicholas Talbot, and Nicholas is one of 14 active duty transgender service members suing the Trump administration. Talbot,
And just so we're clear, before her commentary, Talbot was female transitioning to male. So I know usually we hear the safety in women's locker rooms because of men in the locker rooms. That's a whole different topic. This one I picked because of that non-standard pathing. I mean, again, we hear about the men to female all the time, but I really wanted to look at the female to male and again, what that impacts. And I'm not saying that this person can't physically do whatever is needed for their military job. What I'm saying is they're dependent on outside resources that I don't want in the military service. I mean, in another video I've seen with this person, I'm just going to table that. Hopefully they bring it up. If not, I'll mention it because I saw the video one night while I was watching TV, and I know it was not ABC Live because I don't watch that, but it was an important point that I want to circle back to, but I want to see if they cover it here.
A 31-year-old second lieutenant has served in the Army Reserve since March of last year. Second Lieutenant Nicholas Talbot is joining me now. So first of all, thank you for your service and thank you for being here. And I'm curious as to what your initial reaction is to the judge's ruling and what does that mean for you practically right now in terms of service?
Yeah, so this ruling has been an absolute breath of fresh air for me. It has been like a huge weight is suddenly lifted off my shoulders. Now I can get back to focusing solely on the mission at hand, the tasks at hand, and continuing to serve my country and put on my uniform and do what I love to do.
And you're joining us from Ohio there, Lieutenant. This ruling, it hasn't gone into effect yet. It sounds like this judge, though, is preparing for the Trump administration to appeal. Are you worried about that appeal? And perhaps how are you?
Again, I can't stress this enough that in 2019, the Supreme Court said that you could ban transgender military service members. It was Biden in 2021 who reversed that decision. So this is not something new. And by the way, this has all been done by executive orders on both sides. So we need Congress to step in, but again, whole different topic.
Preparing for that generally?
Sure. So we are absolutely anticipating some type of appeals or some type of continued discussion or debate about this topic. But at the end of the day, I am very confident that the court system will continue to find that transgender people have no negative bearing on the United States military. At the end of the day, what matters is our ability to put on the uniform and meet or exceed the same standards as everybody else. And that is what yesterday's finding affirmed.
And right there, the meeting or exceeding the same standards, for those not aware, Pete Hegseth has come out and said that male and female will have the same military standard. That's how it should be. You shouldn't have men are required to do 50 push-ups, women are supposed to required to do 30. I don't know the numbers, I'm just picking numbers out of the hat. But it should be the same standards for everybody, because if you're deployed and come in contact with an IED and have to carry one of your fellow servicemen out, if it's a female troop, that's great. I'm all for her being there, but she needs to be able to carry her male peer out of that situation without any additional assistance. It should be that completely equal. And that's the protections. That's equality.
Is that we are able to do that and that we should be allowed to continue to do so. And I'm very confident that that is what the findings will continue to be by whatever court system may be dealing with this case.
Well, and I'm glad you said that here because I want to get your reaction to something that was said by Pete Hegseth prior to being defense secretary. Hegseth spoke on the show.
I'm pretty sure this is about to be what I was tabling. And if I'm wrong, then I'm wrong and we'll discuss it. But if this is what I was tabling, I'm glad that it's in this video because it's what got me a little bit hackled up.
The Sean Ryan podcast over concerns about the ability to deploy transgender service members. One of the reasons he gave was because of the need of medication specifically. What is your response to that?
Okay, this is it. And I'm so glad about that because, again, you hear about this, oh, it's a surgery and you're on a few hormones. Those are pills and possibly injections to have your body not reject the surgery, not revert back, have natural hormone reactions. You're on these medications for life. And if you don't have them, I mean, hormone shifts can cause so many issues. And we'll just dive.
Sure. Obviously, the medications are an issue that trans people and other soldiers deal with every single day. Transgender soldiers are not the only soldiers who require medications. And this is realistically a non-issue for military members. We figure out how to get soldiers the medications they need every single day. Transgender soldiers are just as deployable as any other.
And right there, again, the day-to-day, if they're just at a base, and even if they're deployed and they're at a base, they have access to those medications. But it doesn't always work that way. I mean, what if it's a pilot who's shot down and they're having to evade capture? Again, let's go hypothetical here to the nth degree. We're in war with Russia and they shoot down a pilot of ours and that pilot happens to be transgender. They have to evade capture, and if their hormones go out of whack because they don't have their medications, then that's not going to be good because, again, on the minor, they could get headaches and things like that. They could also get slightly delusional. They could have all these other adverse effects, and you don't want that, especially for somebody who's trying to survive and could have critical military information.
Other soldiers, these things that were discussed, findings of the case, and I think that it really is a non-issue whatsoever. Trans people are just as deployable, just as combat ready, and just as capable as any other military member.
I know that you have faced some adversity throughout your military career, yet you have continued to serve. Tell me a little bit about that experience generally, and are you worried in this moment about potential back?
And again, not being military history myself, I'm curious what adversity, because my gut's telling me it was nothing major. And it was probably just something that they over perceived. And again, while dealing with gender dysmorphia, that is a psychological issue, not a physiological issue. So again, looking at my handy list of disqualifiers over here on the other side of my screen, history of self-harm, that's pretty common in the trans community. A history of depression and anxiety, which is defined by the U.S. Coast Guard Academy. A history of mood disorders requiring treatment within the past 36 months may be disqualifying. How's that different than gender dysphoria? Because again, You listen to all those arguments, and the common trend is if they don't transition, they could self harm because of depression. And again, when you're off of hormones and have all those types of swings, you have depression and anxiety. Just saying.
Backlash because of this lawsuit.
Also, just watching this, look at the host's body language. She is as closed off and disinterested. I mean, look at this. She's just like, it's like I have to be here, but I'm not sure I agree, and I've got my pen right here. And again, I just noticed that and want to call that out because I think more people are aligned on this issue than they're willing to say. But again, just kind of odd because, I mean, again, I'm sitting here, I'm clearly opposed to this, but I'm open body languaged. So.
Yeah, so service is something I've always wanted to do. I spent the greater portion of my adult life just fighting to enlist in the military, and I finally was able to do that.
And nothing I have seen explains their entire adult life fighting to get into the military. I'm going to assume this person's about my age, mid 30s, maybe late 20s. So, what was the fight to get in? Is there another disqualifying factor that required a waiver? And if that's the case, great. And everybody who wants to serve should be able to. But again, they don't explain that. And I'm just going to hope he finishes this because, again, I've seen a few other videos and hopefully it's covered here.
That last year and earned my commission as a second lieutenant in the Army Reserve. Portion of my adult life just fighting to enlist in the military, and I finally was able to do that last year and earn my commission as a second lieutenant in the Army Reserve.
Perfect. He did. So last year, finally able to get into the military. And by the way, you can see this video was posted a month ago. So what took multiple years? You figure 4 years of college, that's not fighting to get into the military. That's finishing college. You might be doing ROTC. Like, there are ways. So I'm curious what the fighting to get in the military was here, because it shouldn't have been a fight, especially under Biden. I mean, this person should have been able to enlist however they wanted.
And all I can really think about is how excited I am to finally start my military career, to be able to continue to put on the uniform and serve and be a better officer every single day that I show up. So at this point, I'm more excited than anything else to be able to continue to serve my country.
And tell me a little bit about the reaction from some of your fellow servicemen and women, not only to this lawsuit, but to the journey that you've been on.
I have experienced a tremendous.
Again, here, I'm curious about this because if I remember correctly, earlier on, he was saying that he wasn't comfortable, but now here we go.
Support from my fellow service members all across the military. I had friends who were in the military before I was able to enlist. I have made so many new friends and allies in the trainings that I've been through and in my unit. And everybody that I've spoken to is just thrilled that they get to keep me.
Lieutenant Talbot,
and they get to keep him? That's a weird way to say it. I mean, that's just a weird way to say it. And again, if this person can do the job, I'm totally fine with that. But yeah, I just have concerns.
I appreciate you taking the time. And again, we thank you for your service to our country.
Oh, and right there, the body language, it's kind of giving me, yes, we're off the air almost. I cannot talk about this anymore. That's the vibes I'm getting off of it. But I'm not a body language interpreter by any means.
Country, thanks for being here.
Okay, awesome. So, again, I said a lot through that video, and that 4 minute clip probably took 20. I'm not watching the timer on the video. But, there's just a lot there. And the fact that this judge, who's Washington, D.C. based, who I'm assuming is probably on the left because of this kind of a decision, and the fact that they are LGBTQIA plus whatever it is today. I mean, again, we're seeing this more and more with the court pecking, and just finding that judge who's going to be sympathetic and getting that venue and then pushing it up to the Supreme Court. And they're hindering Trump left and right. And I'm going to do a separate video on a lot of the court stuff because we've got immigration, this. Like, the judges are weapons against Trump right now. And that's not something I want to dive deep into. But this one specifically, again, there's such a large list of disqualifying factors for the military that transgenderism, I can find countless ways that it's not, oh, because you're trans, it's because of medical reason. It's because of the drug needs. It's because of the mental issues that come with being trans inherently. And this judge is overlooking all that and saying it's a Fifth Amendment violation. There is no way that it's discriminatory based on the count of being trans. This is not a trans thing. This is a military readiness thing. And by the way, most of our potential enemies out there aren't doing this. Like Russia, yeah, they might take trans people just because they're desperate right now. Not totally sure, not saying they're doing anything with that, but transgenders to the front line, I could see Putin doing that because it solves two of his problems at once. But again, different topic there. But this judge, the findings in the ruling is the Fifth Amendment violation and a lack of factual justification that's saying that nobody's proved that these people aren't qualified for the military. Again, an allergy to bees or severe acne can disqualify you from the military. So, again, true mental illness should be disqualifying. And I'm just going to leave it at that because I'm about to just start losing it and it won't be YouTube friendly. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. Again, like and subscribe. Know we've been gone for a while and we're doing a lot more and we'll be back with a bunch more. So please like, subscribe, comment down below. Good, bad, whatever. I just want to hear from what you guys think of these so that we can help steer this forward. So have a great one.